Saturday afternoon in the Meadowlands, we got our first look at Kliff Kingsbury's offense. Now, I'm hesitant to take a lot out of what we saw because, in the same way, when we're saying we got to grade Jaden Daniels with a grain of salt or anybody else, Kingsbury gave us a pretty vanilla look at what he wants to do. But I do think there were some key takeaways. The first was Washington, which was not slow, but certainly not one of the faster teams in terms of tempo offensively last year, ran plays at the fastest rate of any team in the league in the first week of the preseason. So if you look at time between snaps, tempo, basically you operated your offense with, the Commanders were number one in football this past week, which would be notable regardless of who your coordinator was. But when it's a guy like Kliff Kingsbury, who you already know likes to go no huddle, likes tempo, comes from the college game before he was the head coach of the Cardinals and was at USC, helping them last year. It goes without saying that's what they want to be. That's what they want to do. They want to get as many plays off as possible. It's like an NBA team that wants a lot of possessions. They want to run.
A little Mike D'Antoni ball.
The more you shoot, the more you're going to score. The more offensive possessions you get, the more points you're going to put up, right? So I think that was the first takeaway that meant something to me was the pace, the tempo, the no-huddle element. I think there's going to be plenty of times this year where they get to that. Maybe early in games, they came out without running true legitimate huddles for Jaden Daniels. And especially if he's comfortable and maybe more comfortable doing that, why not major in that from time to time? Now, you've got to move the sticks. I still remember talking to Mike Shanahan about why he didn't like no huddle and he hated it. But he didn't do it more often, and he talked about how awful it is for your defense and, would go back to the old football axioms of, the each phase of the ball being responsible for the other, right? And this, NFL game is really about taking care of the defense as an offense and vice versa. And so if you're going up tempo and you're not moving the chains, then they're going to be right back.
Yeah, it's higher risk and lower floor.
But I still love that they came out, they showed no huddle right away, they showed tempo.
Yeah, I misspoke. I mean, it's higher ceiling, lower floor, right? Like if you go 3 and out in 30 seconds, that's a disaster. That's bad. That's almost like a sudden change turnover kind of situation. But it can also be successful. I mean, to me, the thing that I've always wanted is what Green Bay does or Green Bay did for a long time when they had Aaron Rodgers and they were just so well orchestrated. It's if we got you in a personnel grouping that we like, that's to our advantage, you don't get to substitute. We're not just going to let you trot on the guys that you want to have on. We're getting right to the line. We'll probably draw you off sides once, and we're going to beat you to you-know-what with that matchup that we think is better for us. New England did that when they had the double tight end look. These smart, good offenses that are cohesive and on the same page can do those sorts of things where we're not going to let you be in sub-package that you like or you prefer. It's the thing I worry about, honestly, all the time. When you've got some continuity, like if you look at Philadelphia, that's got Hurts now for a few years. Look at Dallas with Dak, and it was similar offense for a while. Where Washington's got all these sub packages. Their dime linebacker is this guy. Their nickel linebacker is this guy. This when they go to the extra safeties, that you could negate some of that stuff by just getting to the line. You could take your time once you're there, but you don't let people substitute. I love that idea as a way just again to make somebody comfortable and also exploiting a positive matchup if you have one.
The other thing that we saw in the first preseason game, at least in the drive where the starters were on the field, especially 11-play, 70-yard touchdown drive, moved right down the field. Kliff Kingsbury called 8 running plays on that drive. And for all the conversations we've had about Daniels, it was 3 passes. 2 of them were screens. Now, by design, you weren't trying to show anything, and it was pretty Trader Joe's vanilla ice cream. But 8 runs and 11 plays. You just talked about this in the Beltway Blitz, and you asked, I think it was Russell.
Mm-hmm. It was Earl, actually. But
Earl,
yeah,
that's who it was. It was Earl. Do you think they're going to run it a lot more than maybe people suggest? I mean, the expectation I've heard all year long from our guests, certainly since training camp began, is they're going to run the football a ton. So are you saying more than whatever? The expectation is they're going to be super balanced at least, and maybe even major in the run and minor in the passing this year to help Jaden Daniels. But I think if you include Jaden Daniels' designed runs, Jaden Daniels' keeper stuff, not scrambles on passing plays, but just the times that they ask him to run the ball by design, I think they're absolutely going to be a run-first team, essentially, this year. As well, they probably should be with a young quarterback. See 2012 Robert Griffin. Like, take a little bit off the young guy's plate, make the reads a little bit easier with play action, and use his legs to make defenses go 11 on 11.
So I have a couple data points, and I've been mulling this for a few days, and I'm kind of feel like I'm now ready to unleash the theory, so to speak. You go back to Kyler Murray's rookie year, Kliff Kingsbury in Arizona, right? They didn't run it at an outrageous rate. I think they had around 400 rush attempts to right around 1,000 plays. Okay, so that's not a ridiculous, 60-40 type split. It's not what Baltimore was doing or San Francisco was doing. Both of those teams that year playing with tremendous leads, so you're salting away the clock, and you're so good at running it that you just sort of major in that. But hidden within that is effective runs. Hidden within that is not just running on first down, Scott Turner nor Ron Rivera style, and setting up bad down and distance. It's effective running, getting a lot of first downs via the run, right? On that 2nd and 4 after an early down short pass or something like that, or even an extension of the run game to take care of that young quarterback. My second part of my theory here is I think this front office is smart. I'm operating with that assumption. I'm just a dude, okay? But I look at a receiver room where you got Jahan Dotson, sort of a slot guy, playing deep into the second quarter of a preseason game. You don't really have much beyond Terry McLaurin. They didn't seem interested in going out and trading for a Keenan Allen or using a high pick in the draft in what was deemed as a pretty excellent receiver class on a wideout to improve that room. And I'm going, if you're going to do what I think everybody else has thought you were going to do, which is let the young quarterback thrive and throw the football and give him weapons, give him safety blankets, and give him yards after the catch and explosive plays and all sorts of things that are going to make him, a CJ Stroud-like figure, you would address that. You would improve that group from someone that's PFF doesn't have as 26th overall in terms of the skill position groups. You would have done something. And then it occurred to me, they don't plan on doing that. They plan on running the ball. They're going to protect him by running the ball even more than everybody, including people like me, think. It's not a priority because it's not a priority. They didn't think that he was best served, talking about Daniels, this is my theory, to drop back a reasonable number of times. They're going to do it less than that. They're going to run the ball way more than I think everybody's anticipating, and that's how they're going to indoctrinate him into the league.
So I think it's hard to decipher what everybody's anticipating is, but I think they are going to run the ball a lot. And that's, we've talked about it on the show quite a bit. I think that is going to be the philosophy early in his career. And it should be with a dual threat quarterback who's got some learning to do. You could probably just stop at it should be with a young quarterback, right? So that's number one. We learned that and we saw that with Sam Howell last year to some extent. But the other thing I will say to that is, in addition to the fact that it just makes sense to not ask Jaden Daniels to go be a superstar, I also think the quick game is going to be his best friend. When you talk about how they're going to protect him, they're going to protect him with a lot of horizontal raid, I'll call it. Quick, safe, easy throws. We saw 2 screens on 3 passing plays, and 3 screens were called, as a matter of fact. Now, some of that is you're showing nothing. But I do think the foundation of their passing game is going to be horizontal. The foundation of their passing game is going to be short yardage, quick completions. And I do think people should get ready for that. So between the running game, which is going to help take some pressure off him, and not having him hold the ball in the pocket that long on designed, longer developing 5 and 7-step plays, you will whittle down the number of times that you're asking him to process a ton. And I think it seems like he could do that. But just generally as a young quarterback, the less you're asking, the better. And the amount of time he's going to hold the ball behind this line. And those 2 things could both elevate his floor as a rookie.
And I think ultimately the path to excellence to me is more of a balance. And it's allowing him to have some of those gaudy numbers like Justin Herbert had as a rookie, that CJ Stroud had last year to a degree, that Baker Mayfield had, frankly, in Cleveland, that was supported also by a good running game and good talent around him. I think they're just not as concerned with wide receiver talent. I think there is a reason Austin Eckler was a priority, which is to catch the ball out of the backfield early and often. Yeah. I think there's a reason their 2nd-round pick was a tight end that people weren't really sure would go in the 2nd round. He's going to get some targets. You add in Zach Ertz, the safety blanket.
Short and intermediate,
close to the line of scrimmage type passing game, I'm with you, is what they're going to major in.
That's the way the NFL is trending anyway.
Yeah, I would say your typical, if there is such a thing as a typical series, right? There isn't, but bear with me. Your average series will look like this. First down from the shotgun, running back to either your left or your right in a split, quick handoff fake, short pass for 4.5 yards. Second down, run. Third down, dealer's choice, right? Again, another short pass potentially or otherwise to kind of try to keep the sticks moving. I think that's going to be your average 3 downs for this offense. And I had this vision of this prolific passer who could also run it, putting up 4,000 yards as a rookie potentially if you went out and got him the kind of talent that Caleb Williams has in Chicago. And I don't think that's their vision. I think they're going to limit his opportunities for big, gaudy numbers and, try to spoon feed and build that way with the short, safe stuff to go with the running game.
There was no path to do what the Bears did because you didn't have the other top 10 pick to get an Adunze type player. They could have traded for Keenan Allen, though.
Mm-hmm.
You could have 2/3 of what the Bears had.
And that's kind of my point.
And they didn't do that, obviously. But yeah, I mean, to me, that's another story of talking about what is their offense going to look like with Kliff Kingsbury, and what did we learn from this past weekend. To get back to that, I mean, I saw a lot more of the read option stuff. I think that's going to be a huge part of this offense. I don't want to say it's going to be 2012 all over again, but I think it's going to look more like 2012 maybe than people think, which was a 1,600-yard Alfred Morris season and Robert Griffin running the ball on keepers a ton, making Morris better, making everything in that offense easier, and a lot of easy kind of half the field one read throws. And if Kliff Kingsbury's smart, there's no reason he doesn't just pull up some of that tape because Daniels can do anything Griffin did, maybe better at this point as a prospect coming out of the SEC.